Hello. Now that I'm ordained and a curate, one of the things I have to do on a Sunday morning is preach, which is not always an easy thing to do. The passage appointed for last Sunday is described like this by the writer Robert Davidson. There is no more strange and perplexing narrative than this in the whole of the Old Testament. So what is it? It's the account of how one night, all night, the prophet Jacob wrestled with an unidentified man who turned out to be God. He wrestled and lived to tell the tale. Now, the Bible doesn't recount this as a dream or a vision, but as an incident which actually happened. At the start of the story, we don't know who this person is that Jacob spends the night wrestling with. The text just says Jacob was left alone and a man wrestled with him until daybreak. But when we get to the end of the story, Jacob gives the place a new name. He calls it Peniel, in Hebrew, the face of God, saying, "Because I saw God face to face." So it turns out that it is not a random stranger, but God himself that Jacob has been wrestling with. The book of Genesis sets this event in the night before Jacob met his brother Esau, the one he'd betrayed and tricked, the one he'd fled from so many years ago. He had no idea what Esau's reaction was going to be when they met. So, was Jacob maybe wrestling with fear, wrestling with his conscience? Many people have experienced wrestling in the dark, either in sleepless nights or simply in the fact of wrestling with something in your innermost hidden self, hidden from everyone else's eyes and awareness. May not always feel it's God we're wrestling with. Often enough, it may be ourselves we wrestle with. When we do wrestle in the dark, whether in sleeplessness or in the secret recesses of our souls, who or what do we feel we're wrestling with? Is it worry or anxiety or a dilemma we cannot solve? Something we can't understand or a question we can't answer? Do we wrestle with our consciences or some aspect of ourselves that we would rather not acknowledge, but which holds us captive all the same? So much of our wrestling can be captured by the description conflicted emotions. We don't know what to feel or how to control what we do feel. But the Bible isn't just talking about conflicted emotions, it's talking about wrestling with God. For Christians, our mental conflicts do almost inevitably have a dimension which may make them feel like they're wrestling with God. Try to pray, for example, about something you're wrestling with, and you may well find that you don't know how to pray. Should you express thoughts of absolute trust or be more honest with words of rage and anger? What's the right kind of prayer? What prayer will find its mark? We may feel cut off and powerless to approach God. The Bible says that Jacob wrestled all night. There was no easy resolution for him. He wrestled all night, but he didn't let go. What struck me reading this story of Jacob is that God doesn't say to Jacob, "Stop wrestling me or I'm going to smite you." He doesn't rebuke him. Rather, it says he blesses him. He blesses him and actually gives him a new name as a permanent mark of their special relationship. It's as if God is saying in this story, it's okay to wrestle with him. Life can be hard. Some wrestling is to be expected. And sometimes we just need to persevere, as Jacob perseveres, until the dawn comes and the perseverance pays off. But the blessing does come in the very fact of not letting go, just like it did for Jacob. In not giving up, not brushing to one side the things or the people that we wrestle with as though they didn't matter. For me, hanging on to God, like Jacob did, however incoherent or unknowing prayer might feel, does yield its fruit. If we do that, then we too, like Jacob, may sense that we have glimpsed the face of God in the midst of our struggles and our wrestling. Bless you all.